Forum. I did hear from Robyn. She's going to be arriving at 7:45. She's running a little late. I didn't hear from Sandy, so we won't wait for him. So we can get started. So this is the regular meeting of the Conservation Commission, March 19th, 2015. We'll start our meeting with public comments. There's no members of the public here to comment tonight, so we can move past that. Next on the agenda is to review and approve minutes from February. I did pass them out earlier. Hope everyone had a chance to go back and look at them.
I read them. I don't know if there's a box.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on the minutes?
I'll second it, but you can't make a motion on it. You weren't there.
No, I read the minutes stuff to approve the minutes.
but
even though
you can't. Just for technical, okay?
Oh, okay.
You can't make a motion or accept minutes that you weren't there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Good point,
I'm not.
No, I know you got a point. Yeah,
I just want to let you know.
Backtrack, and I'll
But
make a motion that we accept the minutes from the previous
All right.
meeting.
And I'll make a motion we accept. Second that motion.
You're allowed to vote. All in favor of approving the minutes?
No,
Aye.
you just abstain.
In favor?
Huh?
In favor of
Yes,
approving?
I'm in favor.
Okay.
Right.
All right, minutes are approved.
I see what you're saying.
But just a technicality.
It is.
That's right. An update on the June 6th Connecticut Trail Walk Day. This is the one in which we'll do a joint walk with the Orange Conservation Commission at Racebrook Tract. Tom can't be here tonight, but he did have a very brief update. He is trying to make a connection with a couple ornithological trail leads to give a bird walk on that day. He has not heard any confirmations back yet, so he's still trying to make some progress there. Does anybody have any other info or thoughts about the upcoming trail walk?
Well, the only thing I had mentioned before about having the scouts
Get
get involved a little bit, because we had talked about that the last walk we had, and I think it was kind of late that we had an opportunity to.
a little right, because it was late notice anyway. We really
Right,
threw that
they
together
didn't have an
quickly.
opportunity, so I think we ought to send out an invitation to some of the local Boy Scouts if they'd like to participate in this.
All right. Does
As
anybody
guides or
does anyone have any direct contact with the Scoutmaster or no?
what's that?
Do you have any direct contact with the
I
Scoutmaster?
have with Charlie Whiting. He's a good friend of mine.
Could you follow up with Charlie about
I will
this?
follow up with him, but there's a couple other troops. I don't really want to just focus on one. I think we ought to maybe we can send out something to all the troops that are in the
All
town.
right.
I'll talk to Charlie personally, but I just don't want it to have Troop 63. I think it should be.
And what?
I could ask my neighbor. He used to be Scoutmaster for Troop 7.
Okay.
I'll ask him that.
And what sort of role would you expect Scouts to play with this walk?
Excuse me?
What sort of role would the Scouts play?
Well, I think they could help if you want to bring something along. I think we had the last time we had our little wagon, which the guy, which one of the fellas brought along.
Yeah.
If we're going to put any refreshments on the trail,
Maybe they get backpacks and stuff for us.
backpack or probably another area that we'd probably want to have somebody there that knows first aid.
Okay. So the Scouts could assist with the guided walk and maybe also assist us with the cleanup ahead of time.
Yeah.
I think a cleanup would be a thing, and one of the things that I thought needed to be done is that the trail, before we go on the trail, the marker should be a little clearer, so that may be something that a week before or 2 weeks before that somebody goes on and.
All right.
Mark Trail.
Because we rushed the last time.
We did.
And I think in order to really make it a fun time with a lot of people you need more press and you need more people.
Yes, I agree. Rich, would you be willing to take the lead on contacting Charlie and the other troops?
I will do that.
And let them know that responsibilities would be assist with
Right.
the guided walk and also with cleanup, and I can get information. I believe there's a cleanup walk at least 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time, and I'll get the details to you.
Well, I think a little bit of cleanup, but I also like to see a little better
Blazing?
trail markers.
Mark the trail. And,
I
make sure it's
noticed
clear.
that you know, I did spend a lot of time on the trail. You know that. For a person that was never on the trail, up the trail, back the trail, and I could see that some areas of the trail, there's the markings needs to be improved, and a lot of the trail too, which is very hard for scouts to do, but there's a lot of erosion, and you know that
That's
I
a little
don't
bit of
know
a bigger
if they can
project.
help
Yeah, that
that.
might have to be a scout,
No,
Boy
but-
Scout project,
That could be a project, exactly.
Yeah.
an Eagle project, something. Like that.
Exactly. Because I'll tell you, I think it's a beautiful trail.
It is.
No,
It-
it's really nice because it's flat too, so
It's-
it's easy for just about anybody to go out and walk on. You can even push one of those strollers with the
Big wheels, yeah.
on it if you wanted to.
You know what amazed me the most is how many trees were down.
Oh, with the,
Yeah, and the pines.
Did
All-
you see?
all
I
those-
mean,
all those white
it
pines.
totally amazed me that how many, through the windstorms, those trees were down. And there's areas there. I mean, when you're talking about scouting, and there's areas there that could really use work because there's that one stream is coming through there, and that stream is blocked in a lot of areas
All right.
from fallen trees and where the.
So-
I mean, it could be a good project.
So before the next meeting, why don't you contact the scouts, and I'll talk to the trail master about some of the bigger maintenance needs on that trail to see if he's got some thoughts.
Because you've seen it. I mean,
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You ride that trail a lot.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they did. I got to say, the Public Works did a nice job last year. They cleaned up the brush on the beginning of the trail in Woodbridge,
Yep.
and they did cut down a couple of the logs that were going across the trail. But I will talk to.
I'll contact
You're gonna-
Troop 7, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
Nate.
You'll
I'll
take
contact
Troop
him
7.
for you and let you know what he says
All right. Great.
about that.
Other than that, I don't have any news on the trail walk, so we'll keep moving along. I think we're going to get some publicity. I know Orange is kind of leading the taking the lead on the publicity for the walk, so we're good there. But I think we should be starting to plan signage around town. I know June seems like a long ways away, especially since it's going to snow tomorrow. But it'll be here sooner than later, so we better plan ahead.
Well, I think one of the things that we did do, and we probably got late on it, was mention it to the school systems. I think
Did you?
Yeah,
we did last year. We did
that reminds
I can
let
take care of
Beecher
that.
School know, but I don't think we even got to the high school.
I don't think we got to the
Yeah,
high school.
the middle school and the high school, Bethany Middle School and high school here, both put out weekly newsletters, and I can get a paragraph in each one of those.
Okay.
All right. I've got some language from the person in Orange.
Okay.
I'll try to get that over to you. If you don't hear from me, just
Yeah.
ping me and I'll get it right to you.
Okay.
And maybe that can go into Beecher as well.
I can go to our email at Beecher, and then I'll pass it on to the other two as well.
Okay.
And
Another issue on
Oh, and the towns.
that young lady.
Get it on the website? We got it on the website.
We will get it on the website.
When we're closer to the date, I'm
closer
only
to
allowed
the
to have, I only have space to have 3 news items. So as you can imagine, there are a lot
Oh,
more.
you must have
timely
the
things
overwhelmed
between
news
now and
items.
June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think once
But-
we get probably within a month of it, put it out in the email blast
Exactly. Mhm.
and whatnot.
on that same issue. Did we get the buses yet? Have
I-
they been transferred over to this town of Woodbridge yet?
I don't think so.
Because I was told that this year is the year that they're going to switch from New Haven to
Yeah.
Woodbridge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of paperwork going on with
Well,
it.
my concern, and I think I mentioned it last week,
Yep.
was having some kind of a shuttle system.
Yeah, if we could get
Right at the Woodbridge head of the trail.
At the end of the
to
trail,
bring people
that
back around if they
would
didn't
bring
want to
them
do a
back,
full loop.
right?
Yep.
Because going the other way wasn't bad because it's all downhill when
What
you go
buses
from
we-
Woodbridge
we-
to Orange.
What bus is the senior bus? What bus?
Well,
were
if we
thinking
could
about
get the
using?
senior buses, but last year we rented a bus,
Oh, okay.
and the bus came in Orange and brought some of the people back to Woodbridge. Some of the other people that were a little
Right, you kind of need a shuttle. Otherwise, they have to walk back the whole trail. You know, some people won't be willing.
Well,
or
the only thing my thing was, Frank, even when we went from Woodbridge to Orange, most of the trail was all downhill. When you go from Orange to Woodbridge, it's mostly uphill.
Mhm.
And depending on the weather, I mean, I walked that trail up and down once, and I tell you, I come home as red as a beet.
That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it'll be June, so it
It-
could be,
it really
could
could
be
be
rain or
hot,
it could
right.
be 80 degrees.
Right,
So,
you don't ever know, and that's what it was that day. But if we can look at
So
yeah, if we
some
don't have,
transportation,
I think if we don't have the vans available by that point, we certainly have money in the budget that we could hire the bus
the
again.
bus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a reasonable fee last
And
year.
just to be clear, if you do use the senior center van, you'd still have to pay for it. You have to pay for the gas and the driver's time.
Okay.
I just don't know what the numbers are or the availability.
Well, we'll have to have a
Because they
budget
don't-
analysis. You know.
Because they
A
don't
bidding war.
they don't work on the weekends.
If
But
the
what do you
town
think?
will
Okay.
lend us
So I
for price,
I need to
or-
look into
or
that.
we
We'll
rent
keep
it,
that in mind.
see what the better deal is.
And you know, I don't know if we have to keep going back and forth. You know, maybe we can have a set time. Okay.
There is I think there's one set guided walk, and the rest of the time it's just a table with information at the head
Right.
of the trail.
But I mean,
So-
if we're going to this is, I understand this is like Trail Day. Isn't this the why
There
they're
will
going
be
to
a
do
lot
that?
of walks.
So I mean, it should have a lot of publicity, and we should try to get as many people as possible out. And we're going to put you in charge of seeing.
Man the table again.
You're the keeper of the
I'm
gate.
the gatekeeper. Fair enough.
All right, so we'll have a little more progress on this for our next meeting. Next on the agenda is an update on 57 Park Lane. So this is the 8 acres over on the eastern side, southeastern side of the town, near the New Haven border. It's a potential of development for a single parcel, lots of ledge. The property was up for sale. It's not up for sale any longer. Last month I was appointed to go and talk to the town. I talked to Ellen, and she appointed me to go and talk to them. So,
Okay.
in a roundabout way, I did approach the realtor who was previously representing the property. They are no longer representing the property, so now I'll be contacting the property owner directly and expressing our interest and whether they would like to make a donation to the town. I know we thought about trying that angle first if they wanted to donate it, but also find out if they would be willing to work with the town moving forward, because it is a good parcel for the deep grant that we just missed for March. And there's a lot of requirements around that grant that it's better to engage the property owner at least 6 months out.
On that same light, if there isn't a thing to donate to the town, okay, I'm sure they have the property assessed at a certain amount, okay.
Mhm.
You know, maybe somewhere along the line, if I'm not mistaken, but I think this property was probated, wasn't it? The lady died.
I believe it was inherited by the current owners.
Yeah, and maybe something can be worked out through the town and that individual on the lines of, okay, they want $140,000 for the property. I think that was the thing that was there. You know, maybe the town through our grant gives them 70,000, and they get a contribution deduction of the other 70. If you can work, you know what I'm saying, try to work maybe that angle. In other words, they still get something for the property because it's really this property's been turned over to somebody else, and that person that gets the property gets a.
Yep, I
If
see
you
what
can
you're.
understand some kind of a deduction.
Well, maybe
on
they
it.
could just give it to us at a discount.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, seeing as how
Yeah, they're not donating the whole
the
property.
whole thing. Yeah, just give it to us at a
Yeah, and it reduces their whatever tax that they
Right,
have
absolutely.
to
It was probably
So maybe if you
it
can
might
look-
be a tax
pay. I'm not
incentive
sure
for
you
it.
can do that, but if you can look that angle.
Yeah, I think first making contact with them is the first step, and
Yeah.
then and I think that's another angle to approach it from.
Well, I could
Definitely
say, you
worth
know,
it.
okay, I'm not going to donate $170,000 or $140,000 property, but if you look at it, if you only donate, if you get 70,000 and you get a tax write-off of 70,000.
It might work for some.
It may
some
work
folks,
for
yeah.
some, and it may not work that, you know, 50-50. It may work 75.
Yeah.
But if you can,
I hear you. I'll see what we can do.
okay.
I'm with you.
Sounds reasonable.
All right, update on 31 Enoch Drive property. I did speak with Ellen, she and Jerry, town council, not Jerry Shaw, have been talking to the abutting property owners where the Blue Trail goes through, and that they're having good discussions with those property owners about getting easements corrected, because I think the biggest concern in this group was making sure that the Blue Trail, as it goes, is protected. I think that's priority one for us. So they're working with the abutting property owners to figure out how to make sure that it's a legal easement, because right now the trail doesn't go anywhere near the legal easement. And I don't have any more news other than that, because I don't think there's been any final discussions or determinations. But it sounds like they're making good progress.
Well, the only thing, I still have a problem with that part of the trail. Because the part of the trail comes down to 63. And that's it.
Right, and then it crosses to Water Authority property.
But you can't go on a water authority property unless you have a permit.
Right. And then it picks up at the end of the
Right. So I mean
dead
that
end
kind
road
of
that's over there.
that kind of makes the trail go to the end. If you're hiking on the trail, you got to stop at 63. You can't
If
go-
you don't have a permit
Right.
from the water company.
Right.
Correct.
And I think
But do you think people really do that, or
I don't know how many people.
Do
You know, is there something there that says stop on the trail? You need a.
Yeah, at the entrance to the water company property, they have
probably
signs.
would walk through. and
Usually,
probably
but at that one they don't.
would
They don't.
have to
No,
watch
but I
it.
think it's
But,
just from neglect that it's not there anymore. Yeah.
Is there any way to
What if we got
talk to the
permission
water
for-
company?
Yeah, saying the same
You're
thing.
talking the
Saying
same thing,
yeah.
okay?
Permission for the water
Because
company. to
I
open it
take it that the gas line continues through the water company.
It does. Yeah, it has to. I mean, it goes down and across 63.
Right, I mean, I'm sure it goes across the road and thing, but I take it that the trail doesn't go that way.
Right.
The
does
trail,
not
you have to
follow.
walk up the road to go through the gate. There's a couple of gates there, if I'm not. I don't know. I'm just when I drive by there, I'm just
Yeah.
looking.
Well, on the part that I've walked, the trail comes down the hill, crosses 63, and then goes across an open field into some wetlands, into a forest, and eventually hooks back down to town property and reconnects with the greenway, the town greenway.
Were
It's
you
a
able to walk down that hill? Because Sandy had said, I believe that he walked it, or he tried and he couldn't.
Yeah, no,
Too steep.
it is steep. There's lots of switchbacks, which makes it passable, and it's been reblazed by the Boy Scouts, so it's clear to where you're supposed to walk down the hill now.
So it's not a steep incline like it was before, or it's.
Well, I mean, there is a straight ski slope,
But I'm saying the trail that's been.
but the
blazed.
trail does switch backing all the way down, so it's a much easier way to traverse the hill. But
Talking on that same property, where the gas line is, when it comes out to 63, which is the gas line, not the trail.
yeah,
is that the property owner that we're talking about dealing with? Do we know who that property is?
Yes, that's,
Is that the same property owner that owns the top part?
yep, he owns all of that.
So he actually owns the trail too, right?
Well,
That goes through the property.
he owns the part of the trail crosses his property, part of the blazed
Well, how about
trail,
where the trail comes out? That's his.
and the trail comes out on his. It goes onto his property, off of his property, onto his property, off of his property, back onto his property, and out to 63. So it's this in and out.
But what I'm saying, it looks like the property that we accumulated is the least amount of property there that the trail is on.
Currently, yes.
It starts on his property,
Yep, and
it goes on town property, and then it goes back on his property.
Right, yeah.
Am I correct?
so
So my feeling is, why don't we just make an agreement with him that leaves the trail right on his property rather than have the trail come on the town property, which we're trying to sell? It don't make sense.
The only thing I can interject is I think that what Jason
I mean-
reported, there are conversations going on with
Right.
that property owner.
For a trail that starts on somebody's personal property, okay? It comes off of personal property, it goes over here, it goes on town property, okay? And then it comes back.
I think part of the reason it does that is the geography. Is that you can't necessarily keep the entire length of the trail on his property because of this steep slope
Steve,
and rock outcrops. So it's
Right.
going now where someone would want to actually hike a trail,
Right.
which leads it between the two pieces.
yeah, I think
The
the
steepest part of the trail is at 63. The other part of the trail doesn't look that bad, to be honest with
Well,
you.
I think another option would be to reblaze the trail so that it no longer goes down the hill and crosses where it currently does, but goes diagonally across that property, emptying out closer to the road, which leads to the town property that continues the greenway to avoid the water authority. This would be much easier to explain with a map in front of us. I wasn't expecting to get into the weeds on this one tonight.
Yeah, but it seems like
But-
it's not an easy
Right.
solution.
I think
Moving the trail to where it should be.
I think the easiest solution is to correct the easement so that the pedestrian easement is on the trail where it belongs. And then once that's set, I think then our discussion becomes a little more clear as to where to go.
Well, let's put it this way. If I understand correctly, right now, there's no right or any easement for anybody to use that trail.
On his property.
Well, I'm saying they can't use the trail because they can't get on the trail unless they want his property, you know?
Correct.
so
So they're
Jason's
Getting
point
that-
is that we should get that first before we do anything else.
But if you're going to change the trail, then you don't need that.
right. If you no, you still have to cross this property going off the northeast corner
Where
of the
this
trail.
the 63 part?
No, the top of the hill. The top of the hill, the trail will still cross private properties.
But what I'm saying is, where the trail comes out on 63 is his property.
Yep. And at the top of the
And-
trail, at the top of the
okay,
hill,
and-
it's on his
and
property.
basically, we have no right to use that trail.
No easement.
Technically,
Written.
you could lawyer it in court.
No, I'm saying-
yeah,
I think it's been
but
given on, it's been unwritten, but I think there's been,
Permission.
they've allowed it. And we're trying to clear, I think the town and our town council is trying to get something in writing, get something, agreement made where it's a little bit clearer, but that's the last update we received.
But let's say the way the trail was made, and the way the trail's got a permanent easement on it, okay, is following the gas line. If you followed the gas line,
right. But I think we're talking in circles here. at
And
this
then you
point.
start-
I think that as long as we get the trail corrected, the easement corrected, we won't be talking in circles anymore. We'll now talk about the blue trail that's protected,
Right, and then
and then everybody has the right to use it.
okay.
And then this discussion.
But then the
Change.
discussion, the discussion on this whole trail system, okay, is the discussion not about the trail system. The discussion on the trail system is related to the town trying to sell this piece of property.
Right, but we came to the conclusion that the town can sell the piece of property, and we would be happy if they would create this easement to continue the trail. So if the trail remains, the town can sell it or keep it. It's not our
I
issue.
mean,
It becomes a board of selectmen
But that's
issue
how
whether
we
to sell
got
that
onto this
property.
issue, was the town was looking at selling the property.
Correct.
Okay?
Right.
And we felt that somewhere along the line that the trail goes through this property, and we're concerned that the trail is going through the property, and we're trying to sell the property.
No, the concern was that we have no legal access to the trail, period.
Well, we didn't know that until we started investigating. I'm talking
Right.
when we started. When we started, they gave us the thing, okay,
But-
look at.
But I don't think it matters where I think it's where we are now is the most important.
Well,
part.
I think we got to know where we're going now, or where we want this trail to go, and how much of it do we really want to sell this property. I mean, that's the issues out there. No? I mean, if you're going to get an easement
I
on
think
it, you're
that-
not going to put the trail on where
But
the easement
our
is.
job was to make a recommendation about this property, not to sell it. That's
no.
the town's job, is to sell it. Our recommendation was that we really wanted to keep this trail continued and not break the greenway.
But we
And
didn't-
that's what they're pursuing now, is getting the easements necessary to continue the Blue
Yeah,
Trail.
but we
So
didn't
if
make
that
a
happens-
recommendation that not to sell it.
No,
we
we
made
said
a recommendation that
keep the
somewhere
trail.
along the line we'd like to be able to keep the trail.
Right.
And have so much footage on the trail. But there was nothing, we never made a motion to say, we don't, as a conservation commission, we're not in favor of selling this property.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is our recommendation was to maintain the Blue Trail
Right.
for public access, and now they're pursuing that. So there isn't really much more to talk about until we find out whether or not they can continue
Well,
the trail.
yeah, but I think as we were pursuing it, then we found that it really wasn't the trail that was supposed to be trail that we had access to.
Right, so we're fixing that.
So they're
So
fixing
now
that.
you're going back. But what you're saying is talking about correcting, not doing the trail it is, but making another way on the trail.
No, I'm just throwing that out there as yet another. I mean, you had talked about the concern about crossing 63 on
Right.
the trail where it is now, and the way to mitigate that is to relocate the Blue Trail as it is, reblaze it somewhere else onto the property. So I think that's a.
But that's a good suggestion. A solution. I mean, why have it just come out and then you got to go on the road? If you're doing the trail, let's make the trail as best it can.
First, we need the easement before we do anything with the trail. And I think that's what
because
we're
we
going
still have
after
the
first.
problem at the top of the hill across this private property. And once we get that sorted out, if we wanted to suggest to the town to reroute the trail, that's fine because it's going on the town parcel. But we still need to solve this initial problem of protecting the Blue Trail on the private property where it is right now. And it sounds like we're heading in that direction with discussions with Ellen and Jerry, town council. So hopefully we'll have more info next month after some further talks. And I can bring copies of the maps for everyone so we can have a more robust discussion about potential for suggesting to reroute the trail
Reroute the trail.
Okay.
to avoid the water authority property crossings.
Okay.
All right. I will make a note of that. Bring maps. All right. The next part of the agenda is sort of a brainstorm of sorts. Because we don't have any big deadlines over our heads, we don't have to come up with property lists, we don't have to come up with recommendations for the POCD. There's no immediate endangered property. I figured this was an opportunity for us to look at some of what we're looking to get done and prioritize it so that we have some focus moving forward in 2015. So a number of things that we could focus on could include reviewing our current open space plan, making changes to that, firm up a rating system, talk about classifications of open space. We could focus on setting aside a Greenway Day in town and focusing a lot of energy on making that a real thing annually in whatever month. What other thoughts do people have that are important for us to focus on?
I think management of what we have. I
Yeah, we-
think
we
management
brought that
is one
up
of the
before.
issues that I always
Yeah.
felt.
So management plan and how to make that a real document.
You know, we have quite a bit of land, and I am not sure that we have a management program, and maybe that's something we want to do. In all the parcels that we have, we may want to review these parcels ourselves and look at how, if we have to bring in a forest or something, look how these parcels can be managed. Because I think that the parcels are there, and you know, let's say the trail master, I think he looks at the trails.
But even
Well,
that,
I'm not sure.
he only does that as like an as needed, as he can get to it. When he came and talked to us,
Yeah.
he said he could certainly use some support with management,
I don't know.
Right, he probably has-
resources, and
Yeah, I'm sure he's got.
As Tim is saying, he's probably got a pretty good handle on it, so.
And he'd be a good guy
We
to-
should actually have him at another meeting, when we do this management meeting, so we can discuss some of the options there,
Right.
as far as,
But I think my feeling is not even areas that have trails. Right. I'm looking at a lot of our open spaces. In other words, looking at categorizing each of our open spaces, what needs to be done on them, and just, you know, maybe they want to put trails in them, you know. But we did look
what
at
we
it
could do
years
to
back.
enhance those open spaces that we already have. So
Right.
yeah, so, well, that's something we could do. I think we should do that.
Just review them.
Maybe also talk about maintenance and repair of the trails we do have, because they seem to be extremely deteriorated. I can't imagine now, when the snow and ice is lifted, what else is
In the wind.
further damaged from this winter we've had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of damage, you know, obviously since Sandy and, you know, every
We
winter.
might try
but
to get some extra help to take care of some of the stuff from this.
I'm wondering maybe if there's,
I'd like to see us push a little bit down your way on the river.
Well, no, I was going to bring something up about doing, extending some of the trails that we already have, possibly some of the Bishop trails. I know there was talk at one time about purchasing some other land that would be from some folks.
That would increase the trail.
There's a gap between the state property and the Bishop trails where the Bishop trails end. And there's a gentleman that owns the land, and I believe he was already approached by the commission there as far as opening up a gap there, which would enable us to extend that greenway from the Bishop trails possibly down through the state land, along Litchfield Turnpike and around Knowles Pond there. And
But that should be a priority.
yeah, we could look into that again. I know Mike Walters spoke about it at one time and said that the town approached this gentleman, and it was I believe it was like $150,000 or something. And they were off by $20,000 or $30,000, you know. So you know, there should be some thought about extending some of the trails we already have, and maybe tying in with some with some other trails that are working up along the river there, because there's an effort to develop a greenway along that river all the way from the Sound,
Right.
possibly all the way up to Bethany eventually, and that would be fabulous if we could tie in some of our trails that we already have behind the Darling House along the river, and maybe develop some other trails somewhere in that area of the Knowles Pond there.
I think that's a good idea.
And the other thing is, we were speaking about this earlier. There's a section where Bradley Road Extension is there, where the all the manufacturing and the business section is there. It's nothing but asphalt. You know, I mean, it's just something that could be really enhanced in some manner by maybe doing a walk, you know, even just a trail along Knowles Pond. If we could get some of the people there who own the land, you know, to work with us on that, you know, or maybe the town could actually do something. And you know, the people there in those that work in those buildings now are walking on the street. I've seen them. They walk on that street. It's not a busy street, but they're, you know, we're down by the dog pond there. If we had some kind of a trail system, they could actually, you know, and it's a beautiful spot, you know, looking over the pond there to do something in that area. So maybe we could think about doing something.
Yeah,
there.
I think we should be really looking at what we have and improving what we have.
Right, because that is
Rather than go out and try to buy more property, take the property we have and enhance it. Like cases like you, increasing the trail. If we got a trail that stops, try to get property owners to give us an easement or whatever to allow that trail to keep moving.
And the other thing is working with the DOT down in that area there, in that particular area, to possibly put in some, you know, with this exit 59 plan that they're doing, some walkways. Because if we had trails down to that point, we could come across Bradley Road and tie into the trails that are up there across Emory Roads by Wells Fargo. The Naugatuck Trail, is it?
Yep.
You know, if we could eventually get some sort of, well, there are sidewalks there already along Bradley Road. You know, we could do some interconnecting trail systems there. So, I mean, that's a long-range thought about possibly doing something there. So
Well, that's what I'd like to hear. I'd like us to
that's my take on
talk
that.
some big picture
And we
stuff
can
if
incorporate, you know, the sidewalk with the trails and have some signage, you know, pointing to the Naugatuck Trail from this point. And, you know, I think it would be an enhancement of that area down and especially with economic development that's going on down
And
there.
maybe one of the things that we do as a conservation commission is really encourage more people to use our trails.
To enjoy the trails, that's what I'm saying. If we put some signage there and you know, directed, you know,
I think that should be a high
people-
priority. I don't know how anybody else feels. Is you know, get more people out on our trails,
Well, we talked about
advertise them more. And like I had mentioned here before that, you know, and I had talked to the trail master about having some kind of a sign process where I think you and I discussed that too. Having a sign process where when you went on the trail, you know how long the trail was. It's a 15-minute trail, or it's a 2 hours, or it's going to 5 minutes, or the type of, you know, where you're just not going on, and you know, is it a rough trail? Is it an easy trail? You know.
Well, we have some signage. We have some trailheads, but it's not specific.
Right. I'm saying, but
if we
that may be another priority that we really want to do is increase the use of our trail, try to expand our trails, increase the use of our trails, and by increasing the use is more publicity on the trails and more information on the trails. I don't know if you could have a handout or a folder. You know, maybe that's something that, even on this trail here, that when we're doing this trail walk, some kind of a folder on the trail. This is what that trail looks like. Because I don't think
I saw some of those. Didn't we have some maps someplace that
we do have Tim. You've got one.
have
I saw
one.
you've got one of the small fold-up maps. We
Yeah.
do have. a
we
collection of
have
them
we
in
have some of
town.
those, but we should have the plastic
You said
place where we could distribute them. at
So
each trailhead.
apparently they were being abused or
Okay.
knocked off the wall or a mess made or something.
Yeah, we talked about having those. What are the things?
QR codes.
Yeah,
The little
QR
ones that you scan
codes
with your phone.
that would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And most people have a smartphone nowadays.
Where
It
you
would
go with your
you
smartphone.
could pull that down off the internet onto your phone, and you would have a map, and it we could put a rating on the trail and that information.
But
that
those
you're
are,
talking about.
that's a good suggestion
But
too.
something,
Yeah, that is. That's
you know,
a good
follow
suggestion.
through with that.
The digital age, that's a great suggestion.
That's better than these things
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they get empty or the box leaks and all the maps get wet.
Yeah.
Someone has to keep continuously monitoring them.
But this orange network is a pretty big network. I mean, we're gonna take the trail that goes from Orange to Woodbridge.
It could be. You know, that Racebrook tract it is just a warren of loads of side trails.
That's got loads of side trails. I think part of it comes out on it comes out one area where we went in, but there's another area that goes to the right that comes out.
Yeah, there's some main trails that most people walk on, but the inner trails
Yeah,
are
someone created a
fascinating.
ton of inner trails over the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other? It sounds like a lot of the energy is focusing around trails and management plans. West River. What other ideas do anyone have?
Well, I mean, I think our focus in the last few years, when we were on this conservation, was going out and looking to increase the number of properties we own.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, after looking at the people that worked on the plan, it looks like we own quite a bit of property.
We do have quite a few parcels.
Right.
The-
And, you know, like you had brought up, and maybe we want to talk about protected, unprotected.
Yep. So a rating system
Yeah, a
and
classification
classifications.
system.
And that may be another priority that we may want to look at.
All right.
But I guess it'd be hard to protect it after it's already bought.
Well, you never know. But I just trying to get a feel for where our energy is, and not trying to force us into a direction that doesn't make any sense for where we are at this point in time.
And another thing would be looking to be closely with the recreation.
Yep.
I think that's an area that we should be looking at is when we have properties, you know, can they be used more in a recreation capacity?
Yeah. So last month, Bob Hill came before us at public comment and said that he would like Rec to come and discuss with conservation Rec's needs and plans. I think that's a fantastic idea. I would love to have a joint meeting with Rec. I would also like to see us have a joint meeting with the Land Trust and Parks Association, because those are also partners in town whose focus is in open space, trails, and conservation. And I think it would be good to have a lot of input instead of just those of us around this table.
Well, the other thing I'd like to see is more on looking at a trail or trails that we can set up for cross-country skiing.
Yeah. That is a tricky one around here, because you go 50 feet in any direction and now you're up or down. But
Yeah, terrain is tough for a decent cross-country
Yeah.
skiing. I've done a bunch of it. But
Country
there's
club.
some scary spots where
Right. Well, that was one of
going
the
down a
issues
huge
things
hill
that I
with
thought.
oak trees whipping past.
It would be definitely.
Because you look at the winter months, okay, and you know there's not very many people are going to go out on. If they got snowshoes, they'll go on a trail, okay. But if you have a trail for cross country skiing, they're going to go out. And you know what are we really looking to do? We're looking to use the property that we have and allowing people access to the property. I always thought that the country club is a good place for cross country skiing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a chalet up in South Glen Falls, and in the town, not that town, but the next town out, they had a beautiful cross country ski area, and they had people coming from all over the country. They had so many people coming that part of the trail they lit at night.
I think this is a good
And
discussion.
it really,
for rec.
just to see the number of,
That'd be a good discussion to have with recreation.
that's
See if
it.
they could help, maybe put something like that together.
And that area down by the Darling House would be great for that because it's relatively flat in
Pretty
the
flat
base of
there.
West Rock.
Mhm.
It has parking. I don't think they necessarily plow that.
I'm not sure if they plow
Could.
that lot. in the
I
winter,
noticed this
but-
winter it wasn't for a period.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, you
You know,
get
that's-
some good
that's a
exercise
good area
cross
for it.
country.
It's,
You know,
it's
you
real
get over
scenic,
across-
it's nice.
Yeah.
It's an idea.
No, I don't think we have. Do they have sledding over at the country club?
Unofficially?
People do it.
Unofficially, they do, yes.
I know, but I'm
They
saying
always did, yeah.
unofficially. But do we have some place where the kids can go and slide down? You know, I'm saying we own a lot of land, okay? And let's say we use the land a lot in the summertime, but the wintertime it doesn't get used. So my feeling is that I think a focus should be more toward the wintertime,
Mm-hmm.
getting use out of the property that we have.
Yep,
I
definitely.
don't know how the rest of you feel.
Oh
that's
yeah,
great.
snowshoeing,
Well,
cross-country skiing. Certainly,
You know, one of the
can take
things
place
is,
on-
you know, years ago people used to skate on Canol's Pond. I mean, you know, just skating along, you know, that you don't see that anymore.
Well, you know, let me say, you look at some of the places like Polson's and other places. They're all closed. Woodbridge had its own pond over there on Fountain Street, right?
Yeah.
We still have skating.
Yeah, I think it's more of a less of a liability if you fall through 3 inches of ice than 3 inches of ice and 6 feet of pond. But
Yeah,
but I think that's part of the reason it's gone downhill. But I agree. I think winter sports is something that
Yeah,
we should
something
probably
we should maybe look
talk with
into,
Rec
yeah.
about.
I mean,
you know,
it
using
really shouldn't be us. It should be the Recreation
right,
Commission.
right. But I think it's
But
something we
could
can bring
help
to
with
Rec.
that,
But
or,
I think
you know.
Yeah.
you're looking at suggestions. and-
Yep.
Well, what part of classifying the properties that we own would be this, saying that this
Right.
piece of property would be,
For
you know, have a
recreational
recreation
purposes.
opportunity. And when we go through and if we do that project,
Mm-hmm.
that could be one of the things that we're classifying as possible uses.
Right.
Yep.
If I can interject for 1 second, you know, one of the things that Recreation has been working hard on and has incorporated in their suggestions to the 10-year plan of conservation development is just that, some of their future needs and where maybe these fields or places that they can start to, the town can start to look at as where it might fulfill these future needs.
Yeah.
There have been requests by Recreation for some additional winter. They're working on, they've already actually improved the skating area over here across the street. However, they have made some requests to get a larger rink and
And a portable-
other additional areas and places that maybe they could do more things both for winter and summer. So, yeah, I think it'd be a great idea to talk to them and see what they've asked to be included in the 10-year plan and what's actually in there as far as direction that they hope to take. And
Yeah.
so I think it would be...
And one of the thoughts that I had is that, as difficult as it might be, but maybe if we had a joint meeting of Conservation, Rec, Land Trust, and Parks Association in one room,
And Mike Walter.
and Michael, I think it would clear up a lot of confusion about the needs of these various entities, because I think some people are feeling contentious about what Rec is requesting and what Rec has legitimate needs for. I think bringing everyone together might help clear the waters a little bit instead of having small individual meetings. So that was one of the thoughts that I had, and it sounds like
Well, let's say there could
certainly a
be
meeting with Rec would be a good start.
It doesn't have to be every month, you know, maybe.
No, I think it would just
I
be.
mean,
I'm not saying to make it a regular thing. But I'm saying
I think it'd be productive, yeah, start with
a special meeting where we would have a lot of people, a lot of people and lots of ideas.
Just to that point, if I can interject one more time, that might be a great opportunity to let the town get the news out to the town and have an opportunity for public comment and people to come in and talk about future use of.
Yeah.
Because you'll have different entities there working together to try to figure a plan.
Yep, and something else that I wanted to ask this group, what about having a survey sent out? I mean, the POCD had a survey sent out talking about the POCD, but what if we were to develop a open space survey to get, because we have public comment, but I think in the time that I've been chairman, we've had 5 public comments here. There's definitely not a lot of people coming to these meetings to speak out, but it might be something that people would go to a survey and fill out quickly online if we had something quick for people to fill out.
Is there some information that we could get to the public about how much open space there is? Because a lot of people may just think like, oh, the cornfield, I drive by, that's the open space and the golf course, and not even realize how much actual land do we have.
We definitely have lots of documents
or,
and information that we could present. It's mostly a way of presenting it.
Or just have it available somehow with this survey or prior to it on a web page or where people could go and look at it and before they took the survey, find out
we should
the extent of the property and what we're talking about.
It's just in one of our maps.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of our open space maps.
And I think the bigger picture thought here is just trying to engage the public more than what we've been able to.
Yeah.
But you're talking online? You're not talking that?
Yeah, I'm talking online. I mean, we could have something on paper that could be filled out here, but primarily online.
Yeah, maybe somewhere along the line, every month, you put on something online of one of the parcels that we own, and a description of the parcel, okay, or a map of the parcel, and what this parcel you can do. You can hike on this, you can do this, you can do that. In other words, you're looking at the same thing. I'm looking at trails, and you're looking at allowing more people to understand more about what Woodbridge has. I take it, right?
Yep. And getting feedback from those same people. It sort of goes hand in hand, engaging the public and also advertising.
But when you're going to get, what are you going to ask them?
Well, I think that's something that we would certainly talk about as a group. What can we ask them?
Should we keep this property? Should we?
Well, no, I didn't want to get into that level of
detail.
I think just the general idea.
What uses would you like?
Uses,
Recreation,
what people-
bird watching, things like that.
How people feel about the town property, the conservation
Well,
land?
I think if you explain to them what the property is, okay, then they would know a little bit more about it, and then you could have something there if you have any questions on this property.
Well, I think that's great. I think if we have the energy to do it, I think we could probably incorporate something into the email blasts that go out from the town.
That's what I was thinking. Ones that come out from the town, then
Right.
link onto that.
Right. If one of us would take up the responsibility to write something, give it to Betsy, and Betsy could incorporate it into an email blast to help increase public awareness. I think that's a reasonable goal to have.
But I mean, are you looking at?
I think he's talking about what we have already.
Yeah, I'm
And-
saying
and-
but great areas. In other words, you're not looking at something like 3 acres. You're talking about something that's maybe 20 acres of land or 30 acres that we own.
Well, I just like your idea of we already have this wealth of material written. Why not just leverage that in condensed format? Talk about the Bishop Trails in a paragraph with a link to the trail map. That's an easy thing to accomplish in an email blast, and it helps increase awareness and engages people a little bit. It's just lots of little ideas here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprising when I'm walking on the trails that I walk in here at Alice Newton quite a bit and I bump into people and they're just not aware of many of the other trails that I walk on over the Eldersley property. They don't know about that. Down at the Darling House, didn't realize there were trails there. And they just go to this one spot that they like and it's, they like to be outdoors. They're out all the time walking their dogs.
Yeah.
And didn't even know there were probably 5 other options within 2 miles.
Yeah. And
So just getting that word out.
I agree, because as I was new to the town, I was introduced to the Alice Newton Trail,
Yeah.
and it took several years for me to find all the other ones that were out there. So, yeah, I think increasing awareness is key. All right. I have lots of notes here. I'm going to try and summarize a little bit for myself. But why don't we kind of wrap up the meeting here, unless there's anything else on ideas for discussions going forward in 2015, even further in 2015. All right. Chairman's report. So, this Saturday is the 31st Annual Connecticut Land Conservation Conference. I will be attending. It's an all-day session up in Middletown, and Tom will also be attending. So hopefully it'll be as great as it was last year. Lots of energy. It's a great opportunity to get, the end of winter, you're kind of feeling a little down. This one really lifts you up and gets your brain thinking about outdoors and conservation things and whatnot. So, I'll have a bit more of a report with Tom at our next meeting about how that conference goes. Two other things that I have here. Where'd it go? So the Aquarian Water Company, I think they serve mostly
Seymour.
in southwestern Connecticut.
Fairfield.
And what's that?
A lot of Fairfield.
A lot of Fairfield, yeah. They have their annual awards. So winners of the Environmental Champion Award. I think the Conservation Commission has done nominations in the past, but they have a deadline of May 6th, and they're looking for nominations of organizations and individuals who have achieved exemplary results in land conservation and environmental stewardship. So if we can think of anybody.
I'm thinking of you.
That's awfully nice of you, Rich. But the...
You don't have to turn red.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I think you brought a lot.
So there's going to be awards in June, and whoever wins an award, you can nominate a nonprofit to receive $2,500. So it's an interesting program opportunity. I can pass.
I'll make the nomination for you.
Well, I don't know exactly why you'd nominate me, but
Because
I will not turn it down.
I think that you have taken a real interest,
Give him the pamphlet.
and you have. I think you have turned around this conservation commission. You second it? You got a second.
Go right
You
there.
can have the poster.
Make their own private motion.
So
I think you have taken a good interest in this in the town of Woodbridge, and I really believe that.
So awards go to outstanding volunteer projects that have improved and protected Connecticut's natural resources. So I don't know as I'm a volunteer project unto myself. I suppose we could nominate.
How about the farm?
Well, they also encourage self-nominations. So the Conservation Commission can nominate itself for this.
I made a nomination. He seconded it, didn't you, Frank?
You have to write a letter.
You
You don't need a second.
don't
You don't need a second. You need a letter.
You know, why
We have a vote on that.
well,
All the paperwork.
yeah, I think we need to clarify exactly what the nomination is
Yeah.
for. Tell you what, Rich, we
You'll
still
get
have
the-
time.
I'm serious, though. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding.
Well, if you would like to do that, I'm going to pass this to you. Think about what the specific nomination will be, so that at the next meeting we could actually.
Okay, I'll give you some background on
Perfect.
the next nomination, if you like. I mean, on this particular issue, next meeting.
That sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're just being coy.
And the last little bit of info is another letter Conservation got from the Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation. Wednesday, April 8th, they have a annual award ceremony kicking off their 40th anniversary. And it's going to be at the National Polish Home in Hartford. If anyone is interested in going, I've got information to go here. Wednesdays are not good for me, so I wouldn't be able to attend. But it's a great organization. They've certainly helped the town in a number of ways. I can only speak specifically for how they've helped out with the farm, the Massaro farm. But It's a good organization. And with that,
Not yet. You're not getting away easy yet. I want to know about the Regional Water Authority properties.
the Water Authority properties,
It's only gone on like two and a half years.
at least. I did not follow up with Jan this month, so as far as we know, the latest is that the nomination is still pending, but the state does have somebody that's reviewing all of the paperwork. And the paperwork had to get resubmitted because it had been lost.
It got lost?
Yeah, they couldn't find all of the paperwork. So the original paperwork was submitted last summer. Shortly after that, the position that it was submitted to was vacant.
Commissioner.
Whoever, it's not a commissioner. Anyway, whoever was in charge of that position was vacant. It was filled back in, I believe, January. So when Jan, our contractor, had followed up with it, turns out they had lost some of it, so she had to resubmit to complete it. And as far as I know, it's still being processed, but I will follow up so I have a specific.
And why I say to you, I mean, we spend a lot of hours on that.
And I know that the Historical Society is also keeping an eye on this as well, because I think it's definitely appropriate for the Historical Society to take a lead on this particular avenue, because it's now talking about the purchase potentially of these properties to renovate them, or whatever the next steps might be.
Well, the key on this property, when we really got involved in it, is that the property is going downhill every year. Okay,
Every day.
no one is doing any. We were looking at more of just stabilizing the property.
Right.
And in order to get into this, then we got in that we were going to try to get it as a historic part of historic
Right. And
portion. But it may get to a point, if we keep going on and on, that these particular properties will be out of the condition to be ever restored,
Well,
especially one of them.
And the challenge is that they're owned by the Water Authority, so nobody can do anything with them unless they're purchased either by the town or some other organization that then has the money to stabilize them. So I think that's definitely a valid project for the Historical Society to preserve these historic properties. But I'll find out from Jan where it stands.
We took the lead on them, if you understand that.
I do. Yeah.
I mean, we had them at least secure the properties.
Yeah, the idea was to nominate them for the historic
Right.
register.
And I felt that one of them wasn't really had any historic value, but it nominated it anyways.
Yeah. So I'll follow.
If you
I'll
could
get
do
some
that, I
info
would
for that.
appreciate it.
Yeah. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.